Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Comix Experience Graphic Novel of the Month Club for the month of February 2022. And we've got a wonderful book for you today, a book that I am guessing is not on most of your radar. It's from a smaller publisher, a newer publisher, and it's not the kind of thing that usually gets talked about all that much. So I'm really happy to present to you Oksi by MARI. I'm gonna mangle this. Ahokoivu. Oh no, I messed it up.
Oh, you did it so well before.
I know. Ahokoivu. Ahokoivu.
Exactly.
There you are.
Perfect. There was it.
Well, I was going to say good morning, but good evening to you. She's in Copenhagen, so it's evening there while it's bright in the morning here. That's yay! International. I love it. How you doing?
I'm okay. I mean, considering all the world events, but this is life. So yeah. I'm really excited to be here to talk about comics and everything. Nice. I'm so honored to be here. It's
excellent. No, I loved the book. I loved the book. When I saw the book, I immediately went, oh my gosh, this is different than comics that we normally get here. And that was the thing that really attracted me to it. It's beautiful, it's charming, it's sweet, it's thoughtful. It's lovely. It's a lovely piece of work. So
thank you.
So yes,
you're
thank
making
you.
Me blush.
Yeah. Well, let me start. I always start with the same first question because I love this question. Why comics? Of all the different ways you could express yourself, why did you get into comics?
Yeah, that is a good question. I mean, I do believe that everybody has like their own, like the best way how they can express themselves. And I'm lucky enough that I found comics to be my way of expressing myself. Like, I love the way I can tell stories with picture and text combining. And like, if I have to just write or just draw a image, I mean, I do illustrations a lot also, but I'm not like that's always a bit more work. Like, if I can combine both of them, it just comes more naturally. And I think that's like, it's just the way I'm wired, I guess. I don't know.
Sure. Did you so I literally don't know what the comics market is like in Finland. Did you have access to comics? Are they, or is it like the Egmont comics from Denmark that you're getting that are like Donald and Mickey and things like that?
It is actually pretty interesting because, like, I mean, as a market, like, there is no market. Like, we don't really sell comics, but as art form, there is a lot of comics. Like this, like Finland has this amazing variety of like more art type of comics, and I think it's partly because we have, I mean, it could be better, but we have a really good grant system in Finland, and we get a lot of support to draw comics, and I guess that's why we are kind of more focused on the kind of the art expression type of thing.
Sure.
Unlike, like, I mean, for example, like here in Denmark, like it is, I mean, there's also a lot of artistic comics here also, but there's a lot of also that's like the Donald Ducks and the Egmont things that comes from here, but it's not so much in Finland, which is kind of funny because we like there's a joke like that every single Finnish person has learned to read from Donald Duck, for example. So we do love Donald Duck and we do love all the Egmont stuff. And I grew up like reading Disney and Asterix and Obelix and Tintin and Lucky Luke and all those. Yes. But like the thing that we do in comics, like the Finnish artists are more like my book, like it might be kind of strange bird in the US, but I can guarantee you that you can find a lot of kind of similar stuff in Finland, actually.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's not that I've never seen a book that looks like this. I just, I don't know, especially given how thick it is. Let me kind of here's a sort of a more standard kind of paperback kind of a book, so people at home can see just how big this book is. It's like 4 times the size of of a traditional graphic novel, and it's
Yeah,
and it's
I actually got recently a comment on, or like a message from somebody in Instagram saying like, "Hey, there's a mistake in the publisher's website. It says that it has 400 pages." I'm just like, yeah, it does have 400 pages. Actually, I thought that she was kind of going like looking at the Finnish version, because the Finnish version has 20. Or the English one has 20 extra pages actually.
Oh,
so
okay.
I was going like correcting that, and she was like, "Oh, okay. I thought it was like supposed to be 40 pages, but okay."
Yeah. No,
But,
we don't.
My way of like drawing it is kind of like, I don't draw that much of a detailed stuff, so it's kind of like I mean, it sounds crazy, but like when you look at the book, you can kind of see maybe that it's not that kind of like full of details drawn images. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would agree with that necessarily. There's a lot of details. They're just not they're not specific lines of buildings or something, but there's a lot of detail. These characters are very detailed, and yeah. The other thing that really struck me about the book is that its storytelling style is, even though it's 400 pages, this was a relatively quick read for us. It very, very fast, very page turning.
yes.
And it in that manner, it reminded me kind of more of manga.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, completely right. It's like, I love manga, and I really, really love the this kind of flow you get when you read comics.
Yeah.
And I kind of want, like, especially with my comics, I want the reader to be really sucked into it, that you kind of get this like almost like an animation type of like flow when you read it.
Yeah.
And like, for me, like, if I have to stop and think about things, or like go back or something like that in a comics, which you can of course always do with comics, but that's like, for me, that's kind of takes me out from the story. So I really want to do stories that are like almost like an animation type of flow.
Yeah. No, I mean, certainly I sat down to start reading it, and I read through the whole thing in like an hour, because I was so compelled by it. I really loved it. Yeah.
And I really hope that it is like that, like that it's a quick read, but then like you want to go back, and then you want to go and visit it again and again, and find something new like every time you read it. So
yeah. No, that's absolutely how I felt. Okay, so you said that when you were younger, you were reading Asterix and Tintin, Lucky Luke, things like that. So I know kind of how things work. Were these translated into to Finnish, or were they English versions, or?
No, like they were like most of those things. They were translated in Finnish. Like most of the like these Franco-Belgisk comics, they were translated. There was some like it's actually it might sound pretty weird, but I actually kind of learned English from Elfquest, like because they only translated the first book in Finnish, and I really wanted to read it more. And during that time, like most of the Finns are learning English at school, but I was in Waldorf school, and I was learning Russian actually. So I didn't know any English, so I had to kind of first like learn it myself, and then I like switched from Russian to English, and then I was able to like learn other words also, than not just like hunting and wolves and all that stuff from Elfquest.
I'm sure Wendy would love that, actually, if we told her. That's amazing. And can I say your English is perfect, having not studied it in school. I totally can grasp everything you're saying. This is fantastic. So when did you know that you wanted to make comics of your own? Were you doing them as a child, or did that come to you later on?
Yeah, I was drawing them, but I was like, because like the school that I was in, it was really, really small school, and actually one, like a bigger brother of a classmate of mine, was already doing comics like kind of semi-professionally when he was still at school. And his name is Ville Ranta, and he's actually one of the biggest comic artists in Finland right now. So it's a small world in Finland. But so I was able to see he doing like his own stuff, and he like drawing comics, and kind of realizing that, wait, I can do that also. Like if he's doing that, like people can actually do that for a living. Like that's weird. And there was this there was lots of Finnish alternative comics around, like really easily found. We had an amazing library that I could just spend hours and hours in. And there was a comic school like in the next village that I actually went to when I was 18 or 19, I think. Like I didn't go to the university level straight away, but I wanted to have like this 1 year to just test out to do comics, and then I kind of got stuck in that direction.
This fascinates me. So does that mean, you said a comic school, that the whole program was nothing but comics for a year?
Yeah. I mean, you don't get a degree from it. Yeah. But it's like this, like that you can spend a year or two there just to kind of, like, if you don't really know what you're going to do after the, like, I don't know how it relates, like the lycée and all those in the American system is a bit different. But like when you're like 18 and you kind of should go to university, but then you can just have like this year, like leap years, and just trying to figure out what you want to do.
A gap year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, there was also like people from 16 to like 40 years of old there. So.
And was this a general arts program or a comic specific?
It was a comic specific. They had also like fine arts and I don't remember what else they had. Maybe writing, but yeah. But the one that I was in, it was like specifically for comics.
It's kind of fascinating to me that there's a comic specific program there, and yet you were saying there's not really a market for comics in Finland.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like we have amazing artists, and we have amazing education, and we have a great bookstores and great libraries and all that. But then, like the markets, like it is really small. Like even like the book market is a small one. I mean, we have a small language area also. Right. Like it's really difficult to kind of get people reading comics sometimes. Like there is like this couple of comics that everybody in Finland knows, but they're mostly like strip comics that they read from newspapers or from online. Right. But it's like to make people understand that comics can be an art form, and like and also like for example like superhero comics, they are kind of a niche thing in Finland, I would have to say.
Sure.
Like it's it is a bit. I mean, I might get. There might be some people who are going to be angry at me of saying that there's not really a market. But I mean, it is. I think
I understand the way you mean it, though. I think I understand the way you mean it. That what you weren't being pejorative. You were just sort of saying how the realities are. Yeah. You know, look, honestly, even in America now, you hear about American comic book stores. But even in America, superhero comics are kind of a niche thing in America too.
So weird.
If you look at the bookstores, like what are the bookstores selling? You know, they're selling Raina Telgemeier and Dave Pilkey by the millions, and they're selling 10,000 Batman comics. You know, so.
I mean, if I would sell 10,000 comics in Finland, I would be top of the list. So.
Right.
That's the thing. Like that's
Yeah. Interesting. I always love hearing about how different places work, because you know we're when you're in the U.S. you're very U.S. centric, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, and of course, I mean it's a big country, and it's one of the biggest like markets for comics. Yeah. So I mean, I understand it. Like I mean, and I'm so excited with Oksi also because I'm really interested to see how it's going to be in the US with it, and also like because this is the thing with like. Like I've grown up watching like all the American shows and films and all that, and I kind of think that I know how US works, but then
Right.
of course I don't because I'm not there.
No,
So-
no, you probably don't. It's nothing like television. Okay, so you went to this comics program for a year. Did you then go to university after that?
Yeah, I went to like this University of Applied Science, which is more like it's a university level, but it's like more focused on like concrete doing stuff. And I was in the media section, or I was studying media, which is nothing like I mean media, but like the good thing about it was that I was able to get a half a year exchange studies in Angoulême, actually, in France.
Nice.
Which was kind of crazy because I didn't speak any French. I don't really speak it that well yet either.
Huh?
But I just went there, like, just completely like ignoring everything because I wanted to be in Angoulême because it's like the Europe's capital for comics.
Yeah.
And to be there for half a year was pretty insane. Like, and they had a school there, like a university level school, that you could learn. I mean, study comics.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So what was your first I don't know if publish is the right word, but like your first major comic? What how old were you? What were you doing?
I mean, my first comic book that I made was actually a book about how to do comics in the comics form.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is kind of, I was like, when the publisher was contacting me about it, I think I had to be 18 or 19, 19 or 20, something like that. And he contacted me because I had a comics blog that I was posting a lot of comics in, and he wanted me to do this. And I actually wrote him back saying, like, are you sure? Because I know a lot of other people who would be much better in this. Like, why do you want me? And he was just like, yeah, I know, I don't care. I want you to do it. I was like, okay.
Because I was going to ask, like, what does an 18, 19-year-old know about making comics? You know?
I mean, and how many jokes I got from it from my friends that, oh, it's your first book that you've published, and now you're going to teach us how you do comics. Like, oh, okay.
That's funny. Had you read like Understanding Comics at that point?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's like, yeah. I really loved it. It was one of those books that kind of really opened comics for me. Like, definitely. And I kind of wanted to, like, that book, like, the way I was able to make it was that I decided to make it to somebody who's just getting started and who doesn't really know what to, like, or are kind of afraid to start, like, try things. And like my approach with it was that I wanted to people to not to be afraid of do stuff and do things in their own way. Like I always think that the, like, comics, like, the final form is the published book, and it doesn't matter how you got there. Like, you can, like, the materials you use or the methods you use, like, it doesn't matter. Like, what matters is the book that people are going to be reading. So that's kind of what I kind of got that kind of approach. So I was hoping to kind of pass the stuff that I don't really actually know what I'm doing.
It's one of the things that I love the most about comics is how many different ways there are to approach it. And, you know, as you know, this is a series of interviews. We're somewhere in the 250s. It's really rare that I hear two cartoonists tell me the same way of doing work. You know, everybody approaches it differently, and it all ends up in the end as a fantastic book. You know, but it's how you get there is different, and that's really that doesn't seem to be as true in, say, music or film, which have very, like, clearly delineated, this is the way you do it kind of paths.
But do you think it's because comics are still just, like, kind of a young art form that we don't really have that kind of, or do you just think that it's just?
Yeah, I'm not really sure which of the two that it actually is. I mean, comics are a young art form, but they're also they're also such a universal art form. You know, one of the things I'll tell like young students or something like that is like, you always see comics. Like every time you go on an airplane, right? There's comics right there in the, you know, it's the easiest way to communicate some stuff. But in terms of how people approach building the art, it becomes idiosyncratic. And I think, though I haven't like said this before, so I don't know if I'm going to fully form this idea, but I think that it might have something to do with how words and pictures come together and how people's brains process those two things coming together, and everybody processes it slightly differently.
Oh, that's a really good point. I think you have something there. Yeah.
I'll need to workshop that a little more to get it right.
I think you should do that, because I think there's something there. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And the thing is with that's like that comics are everywhere. That's why I also think that's why we need more like comics education, or like just like that everybody should learn how to draw comics, or to at least to how to read comics, because they are everywhere. Like especially with the internet nowadays, like it's just like it's so important that you can actually read a image and a text and combining them, and this is like it's just really, really important skill nowadays.
It's interesting because in America, unlike the rest of the world, comics went kind of fallow for 30 years, let's say, because of there were Senate hearings, and people went crazy, like, oh, Batman is turning kids gay, like. No, I'm serious. That's what people said. And Frederick Wortham, man, the guy, I really bad. And so there were hearings, and then the American comics industry basically castrated all the content. So you couldn't have sophisticated content. Everything had to be only aimed at children. And you know, you couldn't even like use the word zombie. You know, you couldn't even say the word, right? Like, how weird is that? And it took 30 years more or less until there started to be comic book stores, actually, and the comic book stores started recognizing that it was actually adults who were buying a lot of these comics, and we started producing material more aimed at adults again. So that's kind of a high level thing, but it's funny how time shifts with comics. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's really funny because I've been doing a lot of kids comics now for like a couple of years, and when I started doing them, like it was really difficult actually to make people understand that comics are also for kids.
Right. Yeah.
And we were just laughing at that, like what's going on? Like it was recently that we were talking about like comics are for adults, and now we have to say also like, but they are also for kids. Like why can't why do we have to have this battle all the time?
No, it's and so what's interesting is that like the kids comic revolution in America, at least, has really been driven by librarians, and teachers as well, but it's really the librarians, because they recognize that kids sometimes had a hard time reading prose. And not just a hard time, but they were anxious about it. Like they didn't feel like they were good enough, and so they told themselves they weren't good enough, so they read worse, if you know what I mean. But you hand a kid a comic, and a kid will just absorb it because they can, if they struggle with the words, they can still look at the pictures and determine meaning and determine sequence and tell the story, and then eventually they get to the words. It's funny that librarians have learned that kids learn to read prose better through reading comics. It's a thing I love.
And sometimes it is a bit still like in schools. Like, I mean, there's amazing teachers that love comics, but then sometimes you kind of get stuck with the thing that's, but you can't read comics. Like if they have to do a book report or something, it's just like, oh no, but it can't be comics. Like that's not a book. And it's just like, but then it does feel like the libraries are more open for this. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another 20 years, kids will be able to do comics and turn it in as their book report, I'm sure.
I mean, I did like when I did. I mean, I love. I use Comix when I'm studying foreign languages, and I did like all my like essays, like the English essays or Swedish essays that I had to do. I did them in Comix form, and I always got like 5 out of 5 from the drawings and 2 out of 5 from the actual text. But then I always passed because they were just so happy that they didn't have like this like boring text in front of them, the actual comic that I was using the language in.
I love that. I love that a lot. Okay, so you say your first comic that you did was a book about how to do comics. What came next up until, sort of walk me through up until this one?
I did a comic, like a fictional, like a graphic novel in 2009, I think it came out. That's called Find Me in This City. I don't have it here, actually. I should have had a copy of it, but yeah, well. And that's actually kind of like a loosely based on my staying in Angoulême. Like, it's not like, it's just like, it's about isolation, and it's really like a kind of like a teenage angst type of thing. But but that was my like first graphic novel. And after that, I was working with Finnish Comic Society quite a lot, and there's this awesome comic center in Helsinki that I was working with, and I was doing kids comics a lot. I was published in France. I did there for like 3 books of this Lola Olifant kids comic. And then in Finland, I'm doing one comic that's still ongoing for kids.
Oh, nice.
And then I kind of got stuck with kids books illustrations. I'm not stuck, but I kind of got into the like a children's books illustration field during that time. And during that time, I was also doing Oksi. And so when Oksi came out, it came out 2018 in Finland. And after that, I've been kind of doing mostly illustrations now for children books, which I also I love. I really, really love, but I haven't really like, suddenly it's been many years and I'm still working on the next one. So
yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, Oksi is a Finnish folktale, but I guess my question still is what was your inspiration to tackle the story?
Well, actually, it was because I had just moved to Denmark, and I moved to Denmark, and I was studying in Sweden. This is the way in the Nordic countries. So, and I was studying in Malmö Comix again, and people were kind of asking me more and more about Finland and the Finnish like mythology and folklore and all that, because like, even though Finland is part of the Nordic countries, we are not part of the Scandinavian countries.
Right.
And the Scandinavian countries, they have like Sweden and Denmark and Iceland and Norway. They have similar languages and similar mythology and similar background. And then Finland, we have our own language, which is it is similar to Estonian, Hungarian, and Sami languages and all that. But like, it's different from the Scandinavian ones. And the mythology and the kind of these stories that I've also grown up with, like, they're a lot different from the Swedish ones or the Danish ones. So people were asking me in the school and here in Denmark, like, how, like, what's, or like they've heard some like snippets and all that. And I kind of got really interested of it myself also, because, you know, when you live in your own country, you don't really like, it's just normal stuff like that everybody knows, and then suddenly you kind of realize, like, wait, am I kind of like different now, like what's going on? So I kind of started to get like reading I got it into reading more and more about like these like bear mythologies and bear myths, and then I kind of thought that maybe there's something there, like maybe I want to do something about this. And yeah, this is my process. Like it's really like it's a mess, like from start to finish. And I don't even know how the book comes out in the end.
Sure. As we noted, it's over 400 pages long. How did you do it in smaller chunks? Did you know that you were doing a 400-page story?
I think in the first the grant applications that I wrote, I said that it would be about 150 pages and it's going to take a year. And yeah, it came out 400 pages and it took me 6 years to do.
Wow. Did you go back for more grants or?
Yes. Yeah. I got quite many grants. I got a couple smaller ones and then one big one. And then like I was doing like other works at the same time, like doing illustrations and teaching and stuff like that. So of course that's why also it took longer, because I wasn't able to focus on it all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was I going to say? I was going to say something really clever.
I don't know.
Well,
I think it's fantastic that you're in a country where they give you grants to make art. I think that's because that kind of doesn't happen in America very often, especially not for comics. I
mean, it is also something that people have been fought for, like especially with like to be able to have like grants for comics. Like this is something that people have been lobbying and putting their time in it to be able to actually get it. So it's not something that just is there like miraculously. Like it is because of like many individuals that have been like making it happen. But it's just like it is really, really nice. I mean, it's an amazing thing because like there would be so many amazing books that wouldn't have been created if they wouldn't have been that possibility.
Let me remind anybody out there who's watching this live, if you want to ask any questions about the book or to Mary, please put them in the chat and we will ask them. I'm told there is a question already. Well, let's go straight to that question, shall we? Pudrigo, hello Pudrigo. I love the book's page and panel design. Each page also works as a beautiful work of art in itself. Did you work it all out on the page or was it put together digitally?
So my way of working, it's actually like all of the pages are half watercolor and ink and half digital. So like it's most of the comics, like if you would see the originals, and this is why I don't want to show them. I mean, you wouldn't really consider them good because they're not finished. Like this is like they're only halfway done. So like I mean, I have some sketches that I don't know if I can share my screen.
You can. There's if you look towards the bottom, there is a button that says share. And then if you click on
I do that?
Yeah, you can do it. You can absolutely do it. Yeah. You'll put the share up and then once it appears on our side, we'll enable it as though it were his own guest.
Yes. Perfect. Because
there we are.
I was thinking that I want to show some of these. Let me see. How does it look better? Now you can see some finish also here. Näytä. Whoa. Yes? No?
I can see what's on your screen right now.
Let's do this. Yeah, it's my book.
Pictures of bears. Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Like I was just thinking that if you guys want to see some of like my way of working, like this is like I usually start with like collecting all these kind of like images that I kind of find really fascinating and like just like what I see from the internet. And then I kind of combine, like, I mean, I kind of print them and then look at them and then not really think about them anymore. Like they're something that's going to be in the background, really. And then I kind of test out the characters with sorry. Shit. Yes. Okay. Perfect. Now, with like the smaller type of comics that are in like anthologies or something like that. I did like there's this really, really good Latvian publisher called Comix that I did this small booklet about a bear in a space, and it's kind of like this prototype of Oksy, where I've kind of tested the stuff on. Yeah, sorry, I'm now just going to flip this through quickly, but this is some of those like comics that I kind of test out things, and then I just start drawing random stuff like these bears, kind of testing the characters, and the story kind of forms during that time. I'm kind of, trying to get to know the characters, trying to see like what's going on. Okay, and here's the thing that I wanted to show. Like this is kind of like the sketch that I do, like not the first sketch, but kind of like this like starting sketch. And I do this with computer, and then I usually print them out, or I can just or like sometimes I don't even print them out, but I actually just like copy them, like looking at them, because you see like there's not that much stuff happening there, so I can just kind of do a new sketch based on that.
So that first step is digital.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like this is actually something that I can show that it's like that I've been trying out. Like this one has actually already like computer and watercolor in, but you can see like that this is the final one that's in the book. Yeah. So this is a way of showing like that I actually did a lot of redrawing also. Like it's not only 400 pages that I've drawn, but lots more. And so you can see like here like all the like the writing is digital, the bubbles are digital drawings, all the details also, and then some of the watercolor stuff I kind of like emphasize with like this Photoshop brushes and all that. Yeah.
So if you go back a couple, go back to the one more. So that's digital. The next one, is the next one also digital, or are you at pen and ink at this point?
This has more digital than watercolor, but it has like watercolor basis. I don't think I have actually like this like the completely like the raw version here, because I don't really like to like. I mean, I can show sketches, but I really don't like showing the watercolor ones. Like I've done a couple of like. I'm just taking this now away. We can also visit it later.
Great. Actually, Ben White. Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I had a exhibition of the of Oksi when it came out in Finland, and I had some originals to display there. And I got like a couple of people came to me and say like, "Oh, but these originals are so much better than the final ones in the book." I'm just like, I mean, I don't want to swear right now, but it's just like the thing is, like for me, they are not done. Like they are halfway done, and also like it's a different thing to see one page on the wall and think that looks great. But when you have like 400 pages, they have to also work together. Like I have to think about how they look according to each other. So I can't like just think like, oh, this looks great, and then I'm not going to do anything with that. And then this one, like just starting from the scratch for the next page. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. So your first layer of sketches was digital, but are you like doodling any of this out like on paper ahead of time?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I wouldn't say actually, yeah, it's not the first sketches that are digital. Like I do like this, like a really like a small like
A thumbnail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Those I do by hand, and those are like nobody else can read them than me. I can't even read them sometimes, so it's like completely.
It's just kind of to solve the flow and to solve the problems of the page.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
How
it's
often...
also like because I don't write a script first and then like do the thumbnailing. Like I have to kind of go straight into the thumbnailing in a way, like that. Then I sometimes I write in some areas, like, and then something happens in here or something like that, and then skip to the next one. And then sometimes I can't really express with words like what's going to happen in this picture, but I have the image in my head, so I have to use the image instead for picture or the story, text. Sorry. So it's kind of like this big mess of things that kind of I'm just trying to mold.
Well, this gets back to the thing we were saying earlier about how different people work different ways. You know, half the people we talk to say, "Oh, I write a script, and it's a script." And the other half are like, "No, I just draw, man. I draw and see what happens, and then I add the words later." I kind of love that it works both ways.
For sure. But I mean, of course, that's the beauty of it, and it's also like what I was trying to kind of talk about in that how to make comics book. That's that it's like you kind of have to find your own way, like because like I've been in these many comic schools and I've been learning how to do comics in many different ways, and like sometimes I'm trying to force myself of like doing script first or like drawing in A3 size or something like that, which is kind of like the traditional way of doing. Like I'm going to get stuck, and then I'm not going to do anything. Like that's like, and that's you don't want to do that. And then sometimes like also some people have been said to me, or they told me that it's like it sounds very difficult the way that I'm doing things or like drawing things and like going back and using digital and then hand drawn and then back to digital and going this like back and forth. How do you say that?
Back and forth.
Exactly. But then it's just like if I wouldn't be doing that, then they wouldn't. I mean, then I wouldn't have anything. Like that's like I just have to keep moving. Like I mean, Linda Barry is one of my idols. And like that's the thing that I've really like she taught me that you just have to kind of keep moving, and sometimes you kind of get out of the groove and then you're gonna have to find it again. And this is like that was when I read that, it was such a relief when I kind of was able to understand that you can do comics in your own way and it doesn't have to be like a perfect way to be doing them. And this is
No, I agree. It's the best thing about comics to me. So one of the things, so you're lettering. Let me ask you about. Let me get the question out of my mouth. Let me ask you about the American edition of this, the English edition. Did you do the lettering on this? Okay, so you translated it, or somebody helped you translate? Okay.
It's translated by Silja-Maria Aronpuro. Yes. Yeah, Aronpuro. Yeah, sorry, I had to check her last name. This amazing translator who did also actually like the Finnish version has a subtitles in English actually.
Oh, okay.
Like it has like in the bottom of the page, it has like this small English text. And Silja-Maria did that for the Finnish version. And when I found out that's I'm able to do Oksi actually in English, I really wanted her to do the translation because like, I mean, I can speak English, and I can write it, but like she was able to like, she's a professional and she was able to like find those nuances there that I just like when I read them, I like see like, yes, that's what it's supposed to be, but I would have never been able to formulate it for myself. That way. So I'm really, really happy that she was able to do the translation.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you relettered the book yourself, especially because there's just huge parts of it where the text, the lettering is as much a design element as it being in balloons, you know.
Yeah, that's why I can't really use any fonts or anything like that, really, because it's like, I mean, let's see, like if one day I will be able to get it in a country that I can't letter it myself, so it will be interesting to see what I'm going to do with that. Hopefully, we will find somebody that's going to letter it well. But it's that's the thing. Like, it's just like it has to be like it's not written; it's drawn. Like the letters are drawn, it's written.
Yeah.
So it's it's really, really like important style wise also for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, I also think it adds to the text that the hand lettering, you know. No, I think it's really, really nice. That's fantastic. Ben tells me there's another question. So it's from David Emmanuel. Can you talk about the traditional mythological references?
Yes, I can. Let's see.
Will you?
So, well, I mean, let's see. So the starting point of the folklore and the mythological references was Kalevala, which is the Finnish national epos. Maybe that's what you would call it. It's this book that was like when Finland is a very young nation, right? Like we became our own country in 1917. So that's young. And like in the 1800s, they were starting to kind of forming the ideal of like what is Finland and what's like our what's the nation, like trying to like build up this kind of like a national image of Finland, because we've been under Sweden, we've been under Russia, like, but then like we do have our own language and like cultural stuff that are our own and all that. So it's like, but of course, like all the countries are built, right? It's like there's not like, you know, it's like all the nationalities are built in that way. So Elias Lönnrot was this guy who went around in 1800s. He went around from town to town, skiing from town to town and gathering these songs that people have been singing like for ages and ages and ages. And he went to these villages, listened to people singing, wrote them down, and then back home he then kind of started to put them together. So he kind of edited the book, and like there's a lot of discussion about it, like how much it is actual like the old stories, like how much he put himself in them, like like how much he edited them. But like, so that's and that book has a section about like killing a bear, and also like this like the birth of a bear, because in the Finnish mythology, like everybody has a origin song, and if you know the song, you will control that thing. Like if you know the origin of water, then you can control water. So it's this kind of and that was also something that I really wanted to use in Oksi, like this thing that if you know your roots, if you know the past, or if you know the things that had happened, then you can actually get control over things, or like, you know, like this history matters type of thing. And in the birth of the bear, or like the origin of the bear, they talk about how the bear is it's actually in the, I wrote it here in the beginning of the book, and it talks about how the bear was sent from the heaven, and it has this it's actually kind of funny because it's this thing about it was sent to heaven, like sent down to earth from heaven, and then he kind of died for not for our sins, but kinda like it has this kind of like a very biblical type of thing. I mean, and this is the story before like Christianity ever came to Finland, and I really love when all like these genres lab, and when I knew that I was going to do fantasy and mythology, and then I found out that Bear is actually from heavens, and then of course I had to put some sci-fi in my
right
stories, which is also, I think this is something that ElfQuest has also influenced me quite a lot.
Absolutely. Sure, I love that.
But,
so these are all oral traditions before this person wrote them down.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why also like singing is a really big part of Oksi. Like that's all the like the explanations come in a song form, because that's the way like all the traditional Finnish folklore and mythology was told back in the days.
And are just out of curiosity, are those songs and oral traditions still kept in any manner, or have they now been supplanted by, well, the guy wrote it down, so this is the version we now use?
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, there is. I actually don't know if there is anyone alive anymore, like these professional singers in a way, like that was the like kind of like this like a keeper of stories type of profession. There was, I don't know if they are still existing, but it's like Kalevala is a big thing, and I do kind of hope that we wouldn't get so much stuck in the like nowadays. I think there's more and more like these versions like Oksi, like that kind of cultural things that kind of reference these stories, but are not that like strict with the idea that it has to be exactly like in Kalevala, which I really, really love, because it's like that's the tradition, right? Like that's what we are supposed to do. Otherwise, I don't think there are. I mean, I don't actually really know that well how much they are alive in that way in Finland. That's.
I assume not that I'm expecting you to answer this question, but I assume that oral traditions change over the centuries, right? As different singers sing the song, they sing it a little bit differently than the people before them. Probably from one generation to the next, it's pretty the same, but over 5 generations, it's probably quite different, I would think.
And I love it so much. And it was just like this, because when I was doing Oksi, I was kind of really worried that if I'm getting stuff right, and then someone like said this to me, like, but that's like you're just like continuing the tradition, like you are. I mean, there is no like right way, because like you can't find the original song, like you can't find the original mythology, because they've just been changing all the time. So it's I think it's in a way it's like really like, of course, like I love finding out the truth, but then like if we would find out the truth, then maybe we would be able to control everything. I don't know, like that's
I like that. So you said that the Finnish version of this came out in 2019?
18, I think.
2018. Okay.
Yeah.
How did it make its way to America?
Oh, that was my agent.
Okay, an agent. Okay, very good.
Yeah. And like we don't really have that many like comic agents. Like I think he's maybe the only agent that actually is selling comics. And so it was like, that was so great that I was able to do that, because I, of course, like my other comics, like I've been like going around different festivals and trying to like sell my own works, but it's like, oh, it's amazing to be able to have like somebody who's doing that work. I mean, I would love to go around in the comic festivals again, but that's like just to hang around, so I'm not trying to sell your stuff.
Yeah, yeah. The book was bought in America by a pretty much a new company. This is, I believe, the very first graphic novel they published. Levine Queredo. Probably pronounced that wrong too. Was there was there any difficulty working with them because they were new, or because they were new they're like, we'll just do whatever you want?
Yeah, do you think that I would say like, oh, they were horrible? No, no. I mean, it was really amazing to work with them, because they were really like, they wanted to do a best book possible. So I really sensed it, that they really cared about the book, and that's so important to me. And Nick Thomas, who was my editor in it, like we did actually some editing work for this version. Like, it has 20 extra pages, and
You mentioned,
like small stuff. Like, I don't really even remember like specifics that is different, and it didn't really change the story, but just to like these kind of things that he kind of thought that maybe would need to be a bit more clear, or something that should emphasize a bit more for the US audience. And I really loved it. I love editors. Like, I really love that somebody is actually like, that you're not alone, and somebody is reading your work and is interested of it and wants to do the best thing about it. And then, like, of course, like Ville Ranta was the editor of the Finnish one, and with both of them, like, it was always like, if there was something that I wasn't really feeling it, then it was just like, yeah, okay, fine, like, this is your book, that's completely fine. But then sometimes, I mean, like, most of the times they come up with like really, really interesting, good points.
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes you get blind with your own work. Like, you really have to have somebody to. And like, I'm talking about this because it might sound really weird for Americans that I'm talking about this so much, but like, we don't really usually have editors in Finnish comics, because we don't have such a big market. Like, there's not even like enough money for the like actual artists, so it's just like difficult to get money also for the editor. Everybody.
Yeah.
So
a good editor is going to make the book better.
I mean, yes, yeah.
You know, they're your best ally. They want to make it better. What was the reaction in Finland to Oksy?
It was surprisingly good, actually, because it came out with this small publishing house that's like, it's a like, they're well known of doing like publishing good comics, but it's a really, really small publishing house, and they don't usually like publish, like, they always tell me also, like, they try to push me to offer my comics to bigger publishers also, and if they don't take them, then they will do it, because they want to like do comics that they think that they should be printed. But then, like, I got like this amazing review in the biggest newspaper in Finland, and it kind of just exploded.
Nice.
It actually, I think that it started, like, the review started like saying like, first things first, Oksi is perfect, and it was just like,
that's fantastic. That's exactly what you want as the first line of a review, right?
And it's like, it was really crazy, because like there's like this there's like one newspaper in Finland that people are reading with, like, regarding to reviews and all that. So that was I was really happy with that. So and there was just like, I kind of feel like there was like more people than not only those who just read comics, that are used to comics, that I kind of felt like that other people also found it in a way. Also do that.
You had said that you were working with children's illustration and things like that. Who do you see the audience for this to be? Do you see the audience to be kids, or do you see the audience to be adults, or does it matter to you?
But the thing, okay, that's is my publisher going to be mad at me if I say this? This was something that we talked about a lot, actually, because for me, it's a like in Finland, it's a graphic novel for adults.
Yeah.
But they felt like in US, it's like YA is a more like better place for it, just because then it actually will find like more like wilder audience. And I kind of like, I don't really, even with my kids' comics, like I don't want to put any like specific years in it, like how old you have to be to, or like how young you have to be to read it. Like maybe Oksi, like I wouldn't give it to like kids straight away. Like I think there's a couple of things there that you really need to read it first. To kind of see. But then like again, like when I was a young teenager, like I was reading like Mouse and these like really difficult comics that's like in comics form. It's a bit easier to kind of read some tough things, because it's kind of like this like drawing, it kind of gives it kind of more softness in it. I don't know, like, do you know what I mean?
Sometimes, yeah, I do. It's interesting because I also think that the reverse is true, that having an illustration to something can make it also heavier at the same time. I agree with you; it does make it softer, but I think about it particularly in terms of YA prose. Okay, because in YA prose, something like a Hunger Games, something like that. It's extremely violent. When you read the words, they're extremely violent, but the pictures are all in your head. But once you translate that extreme violence onto a page, it becomes harsher in a way,
Yeah, that's true. But then again, it's not that harsh than in a movie, for example.
Yeah, right.
Like it's like maybe it is there, like in the middle, like that. It's easier to easier. No, it's not easier, but it's kind of like more. Yeah, it's maybe easier to kind of grasp things, or like that you get this like your own space to process stuff if it's like drawn in a way.
Absolutely. For what it's worth, I mean, we obviously picked this as the adult club book rather than as the kids club book. Much the same reason I thought this was a little much for kids. I think they would have been fine with it, but I thought, it might be a little much.
Yeah, and it's also because, like, especially in Oksy, I did play a lot with that the images are really cute and soft, but then like the things that happen are actually really, like, there's a couple of stuff that are actually really hard and violent. So it's kind of this scary cute type of vibe that I really like. That I was trying to kind of put in. And then like if you kind of flip it through quickly and think it's a kid's book and just give it to a kid without reading it yourself, it's like that might cause some problems. And I don't want to be like the one that's going to get
right. No, I agree with you. No, I mean, there's like these scenes where they're fighting the bear. I mean, that's that's bloody, that's gory, yeah. Oh man, yeah. No, it's I just find it very lyrical and very kind of otherworldly. I don't know. I like it so much. I really love this book a lot. Yeah. Are we out of questions, Ben, or was there anything else? Just so I'm. Oh, we've got another. Very good. Let's put it up. Podrigo again. The mother-daughter relations and role reversals through the book make the story relevant for kids and adults. Was this an important consideration for you while creating the book?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't really think... I wasn't really thinking about I have this bad habit that I'm not really thinking about the reader when I do the comic.
That's not a bad habit at all. No.
So I'm just kind of like doing things that just comes from somewhere. I don't know. It's just like I guess the mother-daughter thing is the thing is, like, I don't have kids myself, so I think it's like the relationship thing. I was looking at it more from the daughter side, even though, like, of course, there's a lot of the mother side of it also. But it's like, I mean, I'm not the mother, so I can't know exactly how it feels. But this is like, so maybe that's why it's also like is relevant for kids also. I don't know. Yeah, I guess the answer is no. I don't
No, it's a good, honest answer. That's absolutely beautiful.
I did this one when I was doing my comics blog a lot. I drew this one comic that I thought it was really, really funny, and I told my friend about it, that I was drawing the comic, and I was just laughing all the way when I was doing it. And then she told me, like, well, at least one person laughed at it. And like not in a rude way, like it's like she hadn't read it, so she didn't know if it was funny or not. But I kind of took it as a mantra, like if I like it, or if it's like brings some kind of emotion from me, then at least one person has got some emotion. Like, and that's like the only person I can control, really. Like, I don't know what other people are going to think about the story or the book. So that's
Let me ask you a semi-technical question in terms of pagination. Generally speaking, you want something to be on the right hand side to make people flip the page. You need to keep the forward momentum going of the comics. Is that a thing that you were considering at all as you did it, or?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe not that much first, but then, like, when you like, cause I did actually like this, like when I was doing when I had the sketches, I did this kind of like a mock-up book with the sketches. So I was able to actually like read it as a book, like a physical thing, and then I was able to see like if some page turner didn't work. So then I was able to kind of see it like straight away, without like, because you can't really see it with. It's a bit difficult to see it with computer when it's like when that's not going to be the final product. But I do.
So that's a mock-up of your sketches, right there?
Yeah, it's like this.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I love that. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Oh, I love that so much. I want a copy. Wow, that's cool.
And there's only one of those, so.
So then when you worked with your American editor and you put in 20 pages, and as it sounded to me like they're all interstitial pages. They're scattered throughout the book. Did any of that change the flow?
Well, I mean, I did have to like work a bit with it to see that it doesn't mess up anything else.
Yeah.
But like, luckily, there was a lot of the new pages that I did were actually like something that I've already done, but had gotten removed from the finished version. So I had like sketches, and I had like a space for them already. And it was kind of funny how like he was able to see like oh, it kind of feels like you could have something more here. And I was just like, well, I mean, I
already have it.
Sketches.
Here it is. I love that. That's great. That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
But yeah, it was a bit like tricky to kind of like see that you can actually get them in like, yeah, you can't just put one page somewhere, because then the whole other 300 pages are going to be messed up. So it's
yeah. Well, especially if you're, again, if you're considering the right turn, then it's gotta work out. Yeah. Has this been translated into any other languages?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I hope so, that it will get translations. I hope so.
Yeah. Well,
we are working. We are working with it. It is a difficult book in a way. Like, I'm really happy that my publisher was able to, or wanted to, take the chance, because it is a book that you kind of have to take a chance with.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it's like it doesn't really look like that much like the other books, maybe, and it's just like, when you think about like where you're going to place it in a book, like bookshop and a comic shop, like it's these things that and then like when it's a name that's not that well known, so it's like really like there's a lot of people that have publishers that have said that they are really interested of it, but they are a bit of afraid to actually take the jump. So.
Well, you can tell them there was at least one comic book store that said, "Hey, let's get 300 copies of this and send it out to people all over the country because we liked it that much." So the gamble paid off, I think.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's fantastic. Yeah, I don't know. I just can't say enough good stuff about this, and just I think it's sweet. I just think it's darling. What else? What else you have coming up? Are there other comics that you're doing?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of the children's books illustrations now, but then I've been working with. I really want to do a horror comic next.
Ooh, nice.
Which is kind of like, I mean, Oksi also has a lot of like these horror elements, but I kind of really want to do this like classic horror type of comic. But then now I've been stuck with it for a while now, so let's see if it's what's going to it's in this point like that I don't really know if I should let it go, and every time I decide that okay, I'm just not going to be doing it, then like I'm starting to get these new ideas for it. Just like it doesn't want to let me go, so I think I have to kind of see it through and make some time to be able to actually finish it.
Are you so you've started production on it then?
Well, I've started the first
sketches,
like this collecting ideas and things.
Yeah.
For it.
Oh, I'd like to see it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
No, I love that. Do you make comics and art full time? Is that your thing?
Yeah, I mean mostly the illustrations is my main work right now, but comics, illustrations. I did some teaching stuff before, but I haven't done that for many years now. Mainly also because I'm in Denmark now, and I mean I do speak Danish, but it's still kind of it's not as good as my Finnish.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to think that if you came to America and did some American shows, and spoke to American editors, I would think you would be able to find some more opportunity and work here too. I just got to say,
I would love to come to
San Diego
or US tour, and oh god, I've been in US only twice. I was in Mocha for 2009, or I think something, or 2010, somewhere around there. If you remember the volcano thing that happened, during that time, I got stuck in New York because of that.
Oh wow.
And then I've been actually once in San Francisco, but it was just like it was just this like really crazy quick trip. I was in my sister was living in California in Davis, and I was visiting her, and then I had like a couple of like 2 days or 1 day in San Francisco, like this really quick. I just really loved the city. I thought it was so amazing. I really want to go back there.
I like it myself. Well, if you ever want to come back and you're, I can't afford the transcontinental flight, but once you're in the States, I'll fly you here, from a different city or something. So
I would love that.
Yeah. We'll do a little signing or something. It'll be great. Yeah. It'll be great. Yeah. Oh, very good.
Then the signings will actually arrive, and that's like the post.
So just for people at home, we still don't have the book plate for this yet because it got stuck in customs. It made it through customs, and customs said they put it to the Los Angeles post office, so it should have been here the next day. I mean, from Los Angeles to San Francisco is a day. It's not. But it's been weeks, and it's just sitting there, and we don't know where the book plates are at all. Eventually, they'll show up, and we'll get them out to people. But,
yes. Yeah, or I will send you some new ones or something. Like we will make it happen. But this is like it's so crazy, like that we can talk live like this. When I'm trying to send you a packet, like that should be like a normal thing to do.
Yeah, it should be, but yeah, life is weird like that. What can you do? All right, well, so let's wrap this up with the last question, which is the same, just like the first question is always the same with everyone. The last question is the same. We have an awful lot of people who watch these series of interviews who want to make comics themselves, and wonderfully, you've made a book about how to do comics. So what would be if someone comes to you and go, I want to make comics and I don't know what I should do. I don't know how to start. What would be the piece of advice that you would give them?
I mean, like the most boring and annoying one is like just start. Just do it. The more like the bigger answer is maybe like find a community that's like either online or in real life. That's like find the other people who want to do comics or who already are doing comics. That's really, really important. Read lots of how to do comics books. Like it doesn't like you don't have to follow one exactly, but usually like I like to think like every book has at least one good idea or one good point that you can actually incorporate in your own stuff, and then like start a comics blog or start a like webtoon or something like that. Start publishing your comics online, and even if like people don't really read it, but this is like more to be able to like start or like make you do comics and keep it up, and find the community that reads your stuff and wants to read it.
Yeah, perfect. I love it. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. This has been an absolute delight, Mari. I enjoy talking with you, and I really hope that we get more of your comics in America, because you certainly are very, very good at it. And it's beautiful, and it's and the different cultural touchstones to me are fascinating. So much to you. This is great stuff. No, this is genuinely good stuff. So
thank you, and thank you so much for this. Like it was such an honor to be able to make you guys listen to me.
There's no make. No, there's no make. This is both of us. This is good. This is good. All right, put me back on a 1, will you, Ben? Hey, so I'm gonna wrap this up here. If you're sitting at home, as many people are sitting at home, and they need something to read, I genuinely cannot recommend Oksy enough. It is really beautiful. It's lyrical. It's smart, and it's just a gorgeous book that everybody should have as part of their library. We can certainly sell you one, but don't feel constrained by that. Just go out and get a copy of this book, because it's just really terrific. A little bit of housekeeping. I want to point out that the next interview we have coming up, we're talking to Peter Bagg about Buddy Does Jersey. This should be a great conversation. This is for the Classics Club. Then I think if I got my order right, then we're talking to Miriam, I'm going to mangle this, Bonasatre Tour, about Hooky. That's the Kids Club book this month. And she's in Spain. So I love this international thing we've got going on. Finland, Spain, it's great. And then for next month's Adult Club, we're back to genre material. It's a little piece of science fiction, after the world stuff. It's Eve. And we're going to be talking to the author, Victor Laval or Lavallée. We'll figure that out next month too. So that's the next cycle of books. I would like very much to thank Ben for running the show. I would like to thank Jordan for being our producer and getting everything in place and together. I would like to thank my staff for letting me doing all the work of the store so that I can sit and interview cartoonists, because that's the greatest job of them all, is talking to cartoonists. I want to thank everybody who's a member of the club, because we couldn't do it without y'all as members of the club. And I want to thank all the people who make comics, particularly people like Mary there, which back to the two. We almost had it. There we go. There she is. I want to thank you for making comics, because we couldn't do what we do if it wasn't for people like you making comics and doing it well. So
well, thank you for reading comics, and thank you for selling comics, because that's like, without those, like, why would I be doing comics? So
yeah, very good. It's the circle of life. I love it. All right. Well, thank you very much, and we will talk to you next month. Thank you for watching this episode of the Graphic Novel of the Month Club. If you enjoyed what you were watching, please subscribe and hit that bell up in the top corner. If you enjoyed the books that we're talking about and the creators that we're talking to, every month we pick a brand new book. The staff votes on it. It's a program that helps keep our store alive, and we'd love to have you as a member. You'll get a new book every month. Just follow that URL at the bottom of the screen.